From Gru's own pet possibly being scientifically impossible to explain, to an entire group of missing minions that might secretly connect to movies nobody realized were related at all, today we're breaking down 10 hidden things you didn't notice across the Despicable Me and Minions universe. But first, if Kevin is your favorite minion, drop a banana emoji. And if you're rooting for Gru, make sure to hit that subscribe button, because this list gets weirder the further we go. Number 1. Is Kyle actually half dog, half piranha? Gru's pet Kyle has always looked a little off if you actually stop and study him closely. Sharp teeth that don't belong on a normal household pet, a strange elongated head shape, and behavior that never quite reads as typical dog behavior no matter how many scenes he appears in. The math genuinely doesn't add up either, since Gru already had Kyle back in the 60s during the events of the Minions movie, meaning he's somehow been alive for well over 50 years at this point, far longer than any dog could naturally survive under normal circumstances. When scanned by the Anti-Villain League at one point in the franchise, the official result comes back listed simply as species unknown, and it's since been confirmed elsewhere that Kyle is actually part piranha rather than part dog entirely. But piranhas only live around a decade on average in the wild, so how exactly is Kyle still alive and thriving decades later? The most likely explanation, based on everything else we know about this universe, is that Gru used the same immortality research connected to the minions themselves to artificially extend his own pet's lifespan far beyond what should be biologically possible. Number 2, Despicable Me 3 is packed with far more references than most people realize. This particular movie is absolutely stacked with callbacks and Easter eggs that most casual viewers completely miss on a single watch through. Margot's wardrobe choices alone are doing a surprising amount of heavy lifting throughout the franchise. Her Lorax shirt back in the very first film quietly hinted at Illumination's own Lorax adaptation before it even existed as an announced project, and she later wears a Grinch shirt in this third film specifically, foreshadowing that exact adaptation years ahead of its actual theatrical release. During the extended submarine chase sequence, Gru, Lucy, and the Minions all swim directly past two clownfish that are clearly designed to resemble Nemo and Marlin down to their exact coloring and fin shapes. Balthazar Brat names his entire robot squad the Brat Pack, a clever direct nod to the real 80s Hollywood ensemble of young actors who shared that same nickname, and his lair is completely soaked in retro nostalgia, neon MTV signage glowing in the background, an actual Betamax tape player sitting on a shelf, and other throwback decor scattered throughout every corner of the set. There's even a Hollywood studio briefly visible in the background, labeled simply as Sing, tying directly back to Illumination's other major franchise property. And Dr. Nefario shows up frozen completely solid in one particular scene, styled almost identically to a certain extremely famous carbonite freezing scene from a galaxy far, far away that most animation fans will recognize instantly. Number 3. Could Balloon Boy secretly be the villain of Despicable Me 5? Balloon Boy has developed a genuinely suspicious habit of showing up at conveniently timed moments throughout the franchise. Right when the pyramid gets stolen in one film, right when Gru officially adopts the 3 girls in another, and right when a dangerous experimental serum goes missing entirely in a different storyline. That specific pattern alone raises a fair number of questions once you actually line up the timelines side by side. But here's where the theory gets genuinely interesting. Across the entire franchise, every single villain's official movie poster has consistently matched that particular villain's signature color scheme: orange for one antagonist, red for another, purple and green for the others that followed. If the next movie's poster ever gets released using a predominantly blue color palette, that would line up almost too perfectly with Balloon Boy's own established color scheme throughout the series so far, and suddenly this background character transforms from comic relief into a genuinely serious contender for the franchise's next major villain reveal. Number 4. 3 small details hidden inside the very first Minions movie. When the Minions collectively decide to follow Gru for the very first time, one specific line of dialogue compares him directly to a penguin trying to steal a crown, and that comparison is far from random or accidental. Gru's entire silhouette throughout the franchise was actually deliberately designed to resemble an emperor penguin's body shape, since male emperor penguins are specifically known in nature for taking on the responsibility of raising their young, mirroring almost perfectly how Gru ends up caring for and raising the 3 girls later in the story. Later on, while running frantically through the streets of London, Bob happens to pass directly in front of a small shop bearing a name that references a specific banana-based tea variety known for carrying genuine health benefits, a subtle nod to the Minions' well-documented obsession with bananas throughout the franchise. And during an early VillainCon promotional commercial, a background map briefly flashes showing a submarine marked with a clear Soviet symbol, a small but historically accurate detail that lines up precisely with real Cold War tensions and the Cuban Missile Crisis, which had only occurred a handful of years before the events depicted in this particular film. Number 5. 4 more Easter eggs hidden inside that same movie. While the rest of the minions travel steadily toward England during this stretch of the story, they briefly walk directly across what's clearly framed as the set of the supposedly fake moon landing, a playful visual nod toward that real, long-running conspiracy theory that still circulates today. Later in the same sequence, as one particular villain lights a fuse on a large pile of explosives, the background clock visible in that shot actually shows 15 separate markings instead of the usual 12 found on standard clocks. An odd but clearly deliberate animation choice. As Kevin races against time to save his two friends, Big Ben is shown reading exactly 11 o'clock, which technically doesn't match the earlier clock shown moments before in a different scene, but works cleverly as a symbolic way of communicating that it's genuinely the 11th hour, meaning time is almost completely up for Kevin to reach them. And right before a major coronation scene, the villain's chosen outfit closely mirrors the exact visual look of a certain menacing, oversized queen character from a classic Lewis Carroll story, reinforcing her villainous nature visually before she ever speaks a single line of dialogue in that scene. Number 6. Two hidden references buried inside Despicable Me 4. One antagonist's entire lair throughout this film is built almost entirely around a cat-themed aesthetic, and she's frequently shown affectionately stroking a pure white cat throughout multiple scenes, an unmistakable visual nod to a famous spy comedy villain widely known for doing exactly that same gesture in his own franchise. Separately, in a completely different scene, when a notably strict school principal character takes an unexpected tumble directly from her bed into a wheelchair. The moment plays almost like a subtle wink toward a certain wheelchair-bound mentor figure from a very different, much more serious superhero franchise entirely. Number 7. A Spider-Man reference hidden inside Despicable Me 4. When the minions get temporarily transformed into their larger, far more powerful Mega Minion forms during this film, the mechanical restraint arms used to grab and hold them look like an intentional, direct visual nod to a famous set of robotic tentacle arms from a certain web-slinging franchise's beloved second film, right down to the specific way those arms move, curl, and grip onto their targets. Number 8. A Pixar reference hidden inside the final battle of Despicable Me 3. During the climactic final fight against Brat near the end of the film, right as Gru launches him high into the air using Brat's own weapon against him, a background sign reading simply Soul briefly flashes into view, positioned alongside a background character who closely resembles a beloved jazz singer character from a completely different, critically acclaimed animated film released around that same general era. Number 9. A small continuity slip involving Gru's freeze ray. During an early scene where Lucy uses her lipstick taser weapon directly on Gru, the camera actively cuts between several different angles throughout that brief exchange, and in one specific cut, buried in the middle of that sequence, Gru's freeze ray visibly disappears entirely from where it was previously sitting in frame moments earlier, only for the scene to continue playing out completely unbothered, as if nothing unusual had happened at all. It's small, genuinely easy to miss on a casual watch, but once you actually notice it happening, you truly can't unsee it on any rewatch afterward. Number 10 is the new Minions and Monsters movie secretly connected to Despicable Me 3. Gru, Kevin, Stuart, and Bob are all conspicuously absent from this brand new movie entirely, which feels genuinely strange given how central all four of them usually are to basically everything happening in this franchise. But rewind carefully back to Despicable Me 3, specifically the stretch where Gru briefly loses his job, and an entire splinter group of minions ends up abandoning him completely to follow an entirely different leader instead, leaving only a small, loyal few behind to stay by his side. In that same earlier movie, those particular rebellious minions end up causing total chaos by wrecking an entire movie studio before ultimately getting arrested for it. This brand new film features that exact same specific flavor of filmmaking chaos playing out, a movie set, a cursed spellbook thrown into the mix, and monsters running completely wild across the production. It raises a genuinely interesting question worth sitting with for a second. What if this isn't actually a brand new, completely unconnected story at all? And what if we're actually watching the long-delayed moment those exact same rebel minions from years earlier finally got caught in the act after everything finally caught up with them? And that's it! Which one surprised you the most? Kyle possibly being scientifically impossible to explain, or the hidden connection between the rebel minions and this brand new movie? Let me know in the comments below. If you want part 2 of this breakdown, hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed, because there are plenty more hidden details across this entire franchise we haven't even gotten to yet.